what's happening around the world and what's happening here at home. A very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandra Ferdinando.
And I'm Ruhaza Irfan. Before we move on with our bulletin, let's take a look at your headlines for this evening.
News First Headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
President meets Tamil political parties, discusses anti-terrorism bill, lands and national issue. Sambandhan requests Modi to urge the president to fulfill commitments given to India. A fast in Colombo demanding the immediate resignation of the health minister.
අපි ඇමතිවරයාගෙන් අහනවා මේ මිනිස්සු මැරෙන එකට ඇමතිවරයාගේ උත්තරය කොමිසමක් පත් කරන එක.
Kelly Rambukwala responds to allegations.
මේ සෞඛ්‍ය ක්ෂේත්‍රයට එල්ල කරන ප්‍රහාරයක් සැලසුම් සහගතව.
Parliament approves the SLPP proposal for a select committee on the National Election Commission. 9 leading liquor manufacturing companies granted a 3-month payment schedule to settle tax arrears of 7 billion rupees. Omalpe Sobiditero calls for general election.
News First Headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
First up in news here at home, Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe on Tuesday met with the Tamil parliamentarians representing the north and east of the country.
The President's media division said that President Wickremesinghe discussed the anti-terrorism bill and noted that the drafting committee is expected to review the EU proposals. The meeting took place ahead of the President's visit to India.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa himself has made 3 joint statements with India. Now we are saying this just before you go to India. Joint statements, all 3 were made with India. And the joint statement said, we'll implement the 13th Amendment in full. Not full minus police powers, no. He said 13th Amendment in full and building upon it so as to achieve meaningful devolution. So there were 2 issues that were considered. One, that it has not been implemented in full yet and that will be done. Second concession is that it is not meaningful. That is why it will be made meaningful. Even if you implement it in full, it is not meaningful devolution. That will be built upon in such a way as to achieve meaningful devolution. Not once, not twice, 3 times joint statements were made with India. Now that was the position of UPFA government. Now under in the last parliament, when you were chairman of the steering committee of the Constitutional Assembly, the Prime Minister was a member of the steering committee. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 cabinet ministers who are here were all members of the steering committee. Mr. Sambandhan and I were there. On devolution, we arrived at certain measure of agreement. So now to go back and say exception of police powers and then safeguard full powers doesn't seem a meaningful effort at all.
Firstly, I am Ranil Wickremesinghe, not Ranil Rajapaksa. So I am not bound by, I am not going to say what President Rajapaksa did, but I do go along with him saying that there has to be full implementation of the 13th Amendment. But in the discussions we had earlier, when I mentioned full implementation, there was a big outcry and we decided that we'll go ahead and take up police powers later. So you got to decide on that. Rest of it, I have asked you all to be in a committee to work with Susil Premajayantha, Minister Prasanna Ranatunga, both of whom are there, so you can finish all the details with them. I read the report that you all had done even 2 days ago. I am in agreement with that. I haven't seen Nama Rajapaksa's report. So both of them, and there is the Minister for Justice. So we have to decide whether we are going ahead with this, whether you all want to go ahead with this or not, because we have to draft the legislation. So
our position is that there was a deadline that you gave, 4th of February, nothing happened. Then you said before last meeting, you said before end of July.
Yeah.
None of that is listed here, can be done before end of July. Right? So we don't want to be party to something that is indefinitely strung along the way. But we are not opposed to you implementing any of these things.
No, as far as we are concerned, as far as I am concerned, I didn't say I am going to implement everything. I said the proposal will be given to you before 31st July. And now I have given the proposals. So question is, do we go ahead with it or not? Do you want to support it or not?
No,
do you want to talk it or not?
Let me put forward my party's position.
Yeah.
We are of opinion that anything that strengthens the 13th Amendment and is going to be put into operation is the immediate need of the country at the moment. So therefore, everything that promotes that should be attended to, and as soon as possible, the provincial councils should come into effect.
Yes, so you give us your views on it, because the ministers committee will start sitting in about a week, 2 weeks time, and we'll tell all of you, those who want to come can come, others won't come. And in the meantime, I will also speak with the other party leaders and find out what their views are and come along. We have no difficulty at that, but I am trying to resolve, at least I am going most of the way.
At the invitation of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, the President of Sri Lanka, Ranil Wickremesinghe, will visit India on an official visit on the 21st of July 2023. This will be President Wickremesinghe's first visit to India since assuming the current responsibilities. During his visit, President Wickremesinghe will meet Indian President Draupadi Murmu and hold discussions with Prime Minister and other Indian dignitaries on a range of issues of mutual interest. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs said that Sri Lanka is an important partner in India's Neighbourhood First Policy and Vision saga. It added that the visit will reinforce the long-standing friendship between the two countries and explore avenues for enhanced connectivity and mutually beneficial cooperation across sectors. Leader of the Tamil National Alliance, R. Sambandhan, in a letter to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has urged him to prevail on the President of Sri Lanka when he visits New Delhi this week to fulfill the commitments made to India with regard to sharing powers of governance with the Tamil people of the North and Eastern Sri Lanka. He noted that in total disregard of the pious promises and repeated assurances on its part, the Sri Lankan state has not only failed to fulfill its commitments but also attempted to abort the implementation of the 13th Amendment by resisting the demands for the devolution of land and police powers. Sambandhan noted that the Tamil people's safety, security and existence as a nation is inseparable from the national security of India.
Sri Lanka police attempted to shut down a protest that was to take place in Colombo on Tuesday morning to demand solutions to the country's ailing healthcare system. The citizens' movement against fraud, corruption and waste, together with other activists, was set to engage in a fast opposite the Health Ministry to demand the immediate resignation of the Health Minister, Health Secretary and the Director General of Health for putting patients' lives at risk. However, Sri Lanka police did not permit them to proceed with their protest. Thereafter, the group moved away from the location and protested.
They are blind to the fact that the people are dying. However, when we speak about it, they deploy the police to silence us. Gotabaya Rajapaksa was forced to leave after the fertilizer crisis arose. The president will have to leave due to the health crisis. If the health minister does not step down or is not removed, the president will also have to leave.
ගෙදර යන පාරවලල්ලක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ජනාධිපති මේ
The president was not elected to please the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna members and remain idle. He must remove Keheliya Rambukwella. The president should either be firm in his post or pack his bags to vacate like Gotabaya did.
ගෙදර යන්න සූට්කේස් එක පැක් කරන්න. මේ ඉන්න පාලන තන්ත්‍රයේ මේ පාලකයෝ දැනගන්න ඕන මේක සම්පූර්ණ අහස්ස පොළව නුහුලන අපරාධයක්. මේක මිනිමැරුමක්. මේ වගේ දේවල් රටක සිදුනිය යුතු නැහැ. අපි ඇමතිවරයාගෙන්
When people are dying, is the minister's response to appoint a commission? Should the people simply keep paying their taxes? Is there no value for life? The minister needs to understand that he is only a seashell on the beach full of whales and sharks.
කේලිය රඹුක්වැල්ල කියන්නේ සිප්පි කට්ටක් විතරයි. අද අපි එළියේ ඉඳගෙන තැඹිලි පාට එළියක් දෙනවා.
We are giving an amber warning. The red warning would be worse than this. That is our message to the health minister.
The fast continued until late Tuesday evening.
The Movement for People's Council convened a media briefing in Colombo to comment on the health crisis.
Tenders were awarded to companies close to them and medicines were imported citing an emergency situation. In 2022, a total of 741 medicines were imported in such a manner. In 2023, so far 500 medicines have been imported in the same way. One woman from Peradeniya died following the use of these drugs. The government used the clause for an emergency situation to import the drugs via the close associates. This was done to add more money to their pockets. Keheliya Rambukwella must resign. The people who were killed demand justice.
Venerable Omalpe Sobitathero called for the immediate resignation of the health minister.
Low quality medicines were imported with the approval of the minister. Therefore, the ministry is responsible for this devastation. The health minister must accept his flaws and step down. We will see no success in implementing temporary solutions. The people needs to be represented by a people's council that represents their mandate. A general election should take place immediately for that purpose.
Health Minister Keheliya Rambukwella stated in Parliament that certain factions are deliberately attacking the health service by presenting false facts. The minister said this in a reply to a question posed by the opposition leader in Parliament on Tuesday.
You speak of the woman who died after being administered a drug at the Peradeniya Teaching Hospital. This drug was first imported to Sri Lanka on the 21st of October 2013. It has been in use for almost 2 decades and was imported by the reputed Bowers Company. When the woman in question developed a situation, there were 12 others who were given the same IV present at the ward at the time. In total, 16 people were given the same vaccine. It appears the data is coming from the Kumbadesh laboratory. You are obtaining information from the Kumbadesh laboratory and yelling in the house. You are saying that the woman in question died of poisoning. That is a crime. This is a planned attack on the country's health sector. At one time it was exploding gas cylinders. After Gotabaya Rajapaksa left, the explosion stopped. If someone is engaged in such low acts, we will look into it. We withheld that particular batch. Do not confuse withholding with withdrawing. You said that 3 medicines failed the quality test in 2017. There were 93 medicines that were withheld. 43 medicines were withdrawn. There were many forces in play. These emergency purchases were being made in accordance with the provisions for the guidelines on emergency purchases related to the health sector introduced by the Treasury. Also, during the purchase of these medicines, it is said that the relevant purchase has been made subject to the reduction of prices from the substantial responsive bidders who have submitted bids in this regard, and that the purchase has not been made under those prices. Also, in carrying out these procurement activities, bids have been invited from bidders who are registered from the National Medicines Regulatory Authority and have an MRA registration with delivery schedule and available stocks, so there is no problem with the quality of these drugs. The main reason for this deadlock is that in the last period of an MRA, only 1 of 5 documents is passed. The other 4 are not adopted. I stopped this disgraceful work. That's why they have launched this attack. I can withstand it all. I will allow the leader of the opposition to ask for a debate one Sunday. Let's talk about you as a party leader. It's not surprising that such a situation occurs when you go to a hospital. That's what hospitals are for. If 100,000 enter the hospital, not all will come back fully cured. Unfortunately for them, there is a flower shop in front of the spiritual house. This is the reality. If someone wants to get a ministerial position, that's a different story. But the problem is that by doing that, you have also misled this country. I will personally come to talk to you about this. I will come to your office. If what you say is true, I will accept it very humbly. I have no argument for that. If there has been such a mistake on my part, I will be subject to whatever punishments you give. I believe there are flaws. I can't say there are no flaws in this situation. Do not betray this free health sector to fulfill those ambitions. I did not place the Kumudesh laboratory report for the Hansard. I placed the report from the National Medicines Quality Assurance Laboratory. Does that belong to Kumudesh or the government? Are you saying that I am lying? I do not produce false reports. This was withdrawn on the 29th of January and was used until June. That is the issue. Do not try to cover up these acts. We are ready to debate. There is no problem about that. But those debates must have the reality on the ground. There must be real conditions. I don't agree with the debates that people make for their own wants and needs. The situation will be worse than it is now. In another 3 months. At present, one person is dying every week, and in the future, 2 or 3 people would die in a week. These unregistered medicines are now being distributed all over Sri Lanka. Why can't you stop it? There is a procedure for that too. That procedure will take 3 months. You are simply intimidating the people with regard to the free health service. I am speaking now. And I was listening to what you had to say. I am ready to speak. It appears you all are specialists. If there is a shortcoming, we will address that. You are speaking of increasing deaths. What are you trying to say here? This is a blow to the free healthcare system in the country. When one thing is asked from the minister, he responds with another. You are speaking about V. Nataraja from Peace Associates. The tender process was not followed.
Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Parliament approved the proposal moved by ruling party MPs calling for the appointment of a select committee to determine if privileges were violated by the National Election Commission when announcing the local government election.
What is a special select committee? A proposal for the appointment of the Select Committee was moved by 14 parliamentarians from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, pointing out that the conduct of the chairman and former members of the National Election Commission in calling for the local government election should be inquired into to determine if the privileges of the parliamentarians were violated. They had provided several reasons for moving forward with such a proposal. According to the Constitution, the Election Commission is responsible to the Parliament. But the parliamentarians of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna allege that the National Election Commission had not informed the Parliament, which has the power over public finance, about the issues that arose with regard to holding the local government elections. They pointed out that 2 members of the National Election Commission had decided on the date of the election and obtained the approval from the 3 remaining members for the said decision. They further noted that Mrs. PSM Charles, directing her resignation to the President, was also cause for concern. The resolution states that despite the Finance Secretary informing the court via an affidavit that it will be challenging to source the funds for the election, the National Election Commission went ahead with fixing a date, and that too is a cause for concern. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna parliamentarians point out that there is a concern as to whether the National Election Commission had met the prerequisites for the local government election.
I propose to appoint a select committee to summon any person before the committee as deemed necessary by the committee to direct any person to provide any document or report, to obtain all such evidence in writing or orally, and to obtain the services of persons with special knowledge and experts in the relevant field for the assistance of the committee, and shall have the power to submit interim reports from time to time and to conduct meetings with the Parliament when it is adjourned or prorogued. The report of the committee shall be submitted to the Parliament within a period of 1 month from the date of its first meeting and be submitted to Parliament within such a period.
කාල පරිච්ඡේදයක් ඇතුළතදී පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉදිරිපත් කළ යුතුයයි යෝජනා කරනවා.
කරු මංජුල වර්ණකුමාර මන්ත්‍රී
යෝජනා මායිස්තිර කරනවා.
අපි සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම විරුද්ධයි. ඒ නිසා අපි මේක සම්මත කිරීමට පෙර විවාදයක් ලබා දෙන ලෙස ඉල්ලීමක් කරනවා.
කිසි විටක
Simply because the government has a majority, it cannot appoint select committees as it pleases. This is a dangerous situation. Such committees could also impact the judicial system of the country, and that is evident. The process is wrong.
අපේ අධිකරණ පද්ධතියට බලපෑම් කිරීමට පවා මේකේ චේතනා තියෙන බව අපිට පෙනී යනවා. එබැවින් මේක ඊටාම වැරදි ක්‍රියාදාමයක්.
මේකට අපි කවුරුවත් සම්බන්ධ වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ.
We will not be a part of this. Our party will not be represented. This sets a very wrong precedent. The independent commissions are appointed so that they can function independently. If we are trying to do something within the Parliament, that is intervention. We oppose the resolution.
සම්මත වෙන්න අපේ විරුද්ධත්වය ප්‍රකාශ කරමින්
යෝජනාව විස්තර වෙලා
තියෙනවා. ඒකට ඉඩ දෙන්න එපා කියන ඔබතුමාගෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
අපි කියන්නේ මේ ස්වාධීන
The Independent Election Commission has not acted in an independent manner. There needs to be an inquiry. We will not say anything to this.
මේක සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම අධිකරණයට බලපෑම් කරන්න ගෙනාවු යෝජනාවක්.
When the Easter Attack Committee was appointed, MP Hakim faced allegations, but he remained as the chairman. Don't be angry. I say to you with love. Please understand what I am trying to say. Who will win? Who will lose? Aren't you afraid? These are separate stories. But when an election has been declared and a case about that election is about to be heard in the court, when there's a large opinion in this country that an independent mechanism is needed, this effort to summon the commission to the Parliament should be stopped. I say to the Honourable Speaker, this effort should be stopped. This move is unjustifiable.
The Parliament Select Committee to investigate causes for financial bankruptcy declared by the government met for the first time on Tuesday evening. The Select Committee is chaired by Sagara Karivasam, the General Secretary of the SLPP.
මේ කමිටුව ඉතාම ස්වාධීනව ඒ වගේම ජනතාව වෙනුවෙන් ජනතාවට මේ
This committee will function independently so that the people will be aware of the truth. We will be investigating decisions taken by the Gotabaya Rajapaksa administration, the previous administrations and the global situation. Thereafter, we will produce a report.
කාරණා තුනේ යටතේ මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අද අවශ්‍ය විමර්ශන කළා වාර්තාවක් ලබා දෙන්න අද කමිටුව හැටියට තීරණය කරා.
A debate broke out in Parliament over the matter.
සමගි ජන බලවේගය හැටියට අපේ මන්ත්‍රීවරු
All the SJB members will step down from the committee. You can serve justice. It is unjust to appoint the General Secretary of the party that governed the country and led it to bankruptcy. It is an insult to the Parliament.
තාම අසාධාරණයි මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට කරන අගෞරවයක්.
ඒ බංකොලොත්භාවයට පත් කිරීමට හේතු වූවා යයි කියලා
The faction that the people believe is responsible for leading the country to bankruptcy is not suitable to chair this committee. A case has been filed in the courts citing an economic crime had taken place and that those accountable need to be penalized. At the same time, a select committee is being appointed. Then this committee will produce a report. The report will whitewash those who are accountable. This is unjust.
14 members have been appointed to the committee and it was decided that the membership should be increased to 17.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna convened under the leadership of Basil Rajapaksa to discuss the restructuring of the party. The Podujana Peramuna has planned to restructure the branches of the party by September this year.
Our supporters are rallying around us. The people appreciate the service rendered by President Mahinda Rajapaksa. He is the leader who endured the war in Sri Lanka and developed the country. Such a great reputation cannot be slandered easily. We will rise up again in the next election. We will establish a government in this country. They said the president should be changed and that the prime minister should be changed. That, however, wasn't the solution to the problem. The truth needs to be understood. The truth is that the administration needs to be updated. The procurement system needs to be updated and modified. Changing officials will not provide a solution.
News First. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
The Excise Department said that 9 leading liquor manufacturing companies have been granted a 3-month new payment schedule to settle their staggering tax arrears of approximately rupees 7 billion.
The Excise Commissioner Kapila Kumarasinghe said that new payment schedules were entered into considering the progress made by those companies during the grace period.
According to the local Daily Mirror newspaper, W.M. Mendes and Company, McCallum Breweries, Ceylon Limited, Kalutara Cooperative Distilleries Society Limited, Biamba Distilleries Private Limited, Biamba Spirits Private Limited, Globe Blenders and Bottlers Private Limited, Randhanigala Distilleries Lanka Private Limited, Synergy Distilleries Private Limited and Randhia Distilleries Private Limited are expected to settle their staggering tax arrears of approximately 7 billion rupees. Excise Commissioner Kapila Kumarasinghe said these companies were given another 3 months with effect from Monday the 17th to settle their dues, and during these 3 months all taxes and delay payments must be settled and completed. Kapila Kumarasinghe said that by failing to do so, these companies face the risk of losing their liquor manufacturing license for good. He said that companies have been asked to adhere to their ongoing court rulings of payment options. On Monday, the Department of Inland Revenue announced that Sri Lanka's tax revenue from January to June 2023 recorded a positive growth of 92% compared to the same period in 2022. It is significant to note that a lion's share of the tax revenue is from taxes imposed on the public. The government revenue from the payee tax, which led to much discourse in the country in recent times, has drastically increased by 482% relative to last year. The increase in revenue from VAT is 89%. However, revenue from the betting and gaming levy, share transaction levy and capital gain tax decreased this year compared to last year. Income from the betting and gaming levy, which was 3 billion rupees last year, has decreased by 15% to 2.5 billion this year.
The People's Tomorrow organization convened a press briefing in Colombo and expressed its opinion on the increase of the government's tax revenue. When taking the VAT into consideration, it has seen a rise of 89% in the first 6 months of this year in comparison with last year. The payee tax has gone up by 482%. All this is earned from the country's working class. Everyone is talking about the increased revenue, but not about the decreased revenue. The gambling and gaming tax has gone down by 15%. How did that happen? Our betting and gaming centres closed. Our lottery tickets not being sold anymore. The government has avoided charging taxes from such organisations on purpose. The government is oppressing the working class and charging taxes and excluded their henchmen who are owners of casinos and betting centres.
Minister of Water Supply Jeevan Thondaman announced in Parliament today that the water tariff will have to be increased.
The people's earnings have plummeted with the country's economic situation. The water bills being increased will make this situation unbearable to the people. Do recognize this problem that the people are facing and do the needful. I had proposed the increase of water bills in the Parliament. The electricity tariff had gone up by 66%. The monthly expense we incur due to this is 425 million rupees. In addition, we are also paying off a loan of 2,400 million rupees. The reason for this entire issue is mismanagement. We are increasing the water bill to make things right. We will do so in a way that people are not affected.
Were nails of the new Kalani Bridge removed? This matter was discussed in Parliament today.
The new Kalani Bridge was declared open on the 24th of November 2021. Today marks 599 days since that date. It is said that nails worth 280 million rupees have been removed. When calculated, it amounts to 7,792,402 kilograms of iron. If the estimated weight of one nail is 5 kilograms, 1,558,480 nails have been removed in 599 days. Let's assume that the number of nails is half the amount. That will be 779,240 180 nails. If 100 nails are removed per day, it would take 21 years to remove all these nails. Have these nails actually been removed, or were they not fixed in the first place? Were these nails not there at all? Also, what happened to the Crudias Lanka tree? Who uprooted it? The tree was also removed the same way the nails were removed. I cannot accept where he found all these figures from. I must inform the parliament that an uncontrollably large number of thefts take place in the Demaragoda train yard and the Ratmalana bridge, as neither the railway security officials nor the police is able to prevent this by themselves. We will have to deploy the special task force to settle this matter. As for the Crudias Lanka tree, we informed the parliament that the company which was building the road incurred a loss of approximately 5 billion rupees due to having to pause the process. To build the road using a different method, 1.5 billion rupees would be required. The cabinet granted its approval for the good of the country and its economy. Please explain how the tree was cut down so fast. The government officials are efficient when it comes to the execution of cabinet decisions. My question was regarding the Kalani Bridge. The answer provided was not relevant. I will make sure that a report containing the real statistics is provided to you and the parliament.
Admiral Ravindra Vijay Gunaratne was appointed as the new Sri Lankan High Commissioner to Pakistan earlier today.
Admiral Ravindra Vijay Gunaratne was appointed as the new High Commissioner to Pakistan by President Ranil Wickremesinghe on Tuesday. Ravindra Vijay Gunaratne previously held the positions of Navy Commander and Chief of Staff. Upon retirement from those positions, Ravindra Vijay Gunaratne is also the Managing Director of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation.
When a heart attack strikes, every minute makes the difference between life and death. With the right care and treatment at the hand of the most skilled surgeons and medical professionals. With the perfect environment for recovery. Darden's Heart Center, dedicated to you.
Welcome back. The World Bank Country Director for Maldives, Nepal and Sri Lanka spoke on Sri Lanka's reforms and social security during an event in Colombo on Tuesday. This event was organized by the Sri Lanka Press Institute.
The government has done in the Asusuma is to actually have a grievance redress mechanism. That's how we know that 1 million people have applied to it. That requires a constant updating every 2 years of the eligibility using these criteria. This is a robust process where the divisional and the district areas have been part of the vetting process, and one where for the first time the plantation populations are actually benefiting from it. That breaks it down into that. It's also one that requires direct payment to the beneficiary. Direct payment doesn't go through some Rudi, it doesn't go through a middleman, and it goes direct. So there's no influence. There's nobody telling the beneficiary, you have to do this, you have to do that. It goes to them. So on the other point on the domestic debt restructuring, I mean, we are not, one thing is I have to say, the position of the bank is we very, very much welcome the domestic debt restructuring, welcome it as part of a broader debt restructuring. Without this, the broader one, which includes, of course, domestic debt, international commercial debt, and bilateral debt. This has to move very quickly. Every day of delay is a day lost. And the sooner we do it, the easier it is for Sri Lanka to get back on a path of debt sustainability. As for domestic debt restructuring, the World Bank is not involved, by the way. This is something that the government and the creditors are involved in. We're
linked to the current health issue in the country. Issues such as the broadcasting bill, or in other words, rights of the people being hindered. How important is it for the World Bank for these matters are rectified, for your support to continue?
And we recognize that. Our job is to focus, and we're part of a broader international community. This includes other development partners, our friends at the ADB, our friends at the IMF, at the United Nations, and elsewhere. Our mandate is to focus. We have to focus and prioritize. So we focus on economic issue, but rest assured, it's very clear to our mind that unless people feel satisfied and feel that the reforms are credible, the economic reforms themselves won't move forward. So in that sense, we're doing our little job, but hopefully it contributes to a better story throughout.
In your keynote address, you mentioned 3 key international events that resulted in this economic crisis. The Sri Lankan Parliament has appointed a committee to look into the factors that caused the economic crisis, which has now come under quite a bit of criticism. Is the World Bank going to be working with this committee in any way? If so, in what capacity?
Yes, the short answer is the World Bank. We are a key development partner to Sri Lanka, to the people of Sri Lanka, to you all as civil society, and to the government. We have been working from day one, as you know, even before the crisis started, the April moratorium, we have been involved. We're working as key advisors to the government and to all sides by providing analytical work, policy advice, and financial advice. We're doing it with other development partners. I'm very happy at the way we coordinate with others. As I said, we have this platform, MDB Plus, where we actually sit the bank, AIB, ADB, IMF, USAID, JICA, and we sit and we say, who's doing what? Okay, on the issue of public financial management, this is an important one. Is the World Bank going to do that? Okay, the World Bank does that. ADB doesn't have, and we'll share analysis with the ADB. ADB, for instance, we want to look at the asset quality of the banking system. ADB will do it, and we will use their analysis. And then all of us as development partners, we advise the government together. That's the idea, because we want to coordinate. If we coordinate ourselves, we can help you better.
The Canadian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Eric Walsh, visited the Palmyra Development Board in Jaffna and the Jaffna Public Library on Tuesday.
The Canadian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Eric Walsh, visited the Jaffna Public Library on Tuesday.
Oh, fantastic. And how many children? They developed for this more than today also we could. It was really a pleasure to have a chance to visit the Jaffna Library today. I've heard so much about it, I've read so much about it, such an important history. For me, it was just really an honor to see it for myself and to see what it has, what maybe we can do together to cooperate. We have some ideas and hopefully we'll be able to share those in the near future.
Afterwards, he visited the Palmyra Development Board as well as part of his official visit. He met with the chairman of the Palmyra Development Board, Krishanta Patiraja, in Kites, Jaffna.
Thank you for the High Commissioner and the High Commission of Canada. The High Commission is very closely working with our Palmyra Research Institute and Palmyra Development Board, especially High Commission's Commerce Department, Trade Department. They are giving the fullest support to market our product in Canada. The Canada is one of our largest market for Palmyra product, especially Toronto, Ottawa and these areas, especially the Tamil community in Canada.
The High Commissioner observed the activities conducted at the Palmyra Development Board as well.
Saud Shakil's brilliant double century has put Pakistan in a brilliant position on day 3 of the first test against Sri Lanka.
Saud Shakil scored 208 not out as Pakistan reached 461 in the first innings. In the second innings, Sri Lanka reached 14 for none at stumps, trailing Pakistan by 135 runs. Earlier, Pakistan bundled out Sri Lanka for 312 before lunch was taken on day 2.
The gala night of the beauty pageant Mrs. India INC was held yesterday in Colombo. The event's glamour was elevated by former Indian cricketer and film star S. Srinath.
Mrs. India INC, the most glamorous beauty pageant for married women in India, is hosting their 4th season right here in Sri Lanka. Among the exciting and adventurous events organized for the contestants, a gala party was held in Colombo yesterday. Indian former cricketer and actor S. Srinath, along with other influencers, participated for this event.
Oh, Mrs. India INC, I have to be, I'm really grateful. I'm here with the family and, it's always nice to see your own wife on the stage giving awards. Maybe next year she should be winning this because it's such an inspirational story and, hats off to Suhani ji and the entire team because they're doing a wonderful job and that being in Sri Lanka now, I love Sri Lanka, especially Colombo, so it's great to be back here.
The families of the contestants also participated in this event. Pageant subtitles of Mrs. India INC were given away to the contestants during the event. The grand final of Sophisticated Mrs. India INC will take place tomorrow in Colombo. Legends 966 and TV1 are the proud media partners for Mrs. India INC Season 4. Stay tuned for more updates on Mrs. India INC.
And with that, we wrap up Primetime News for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us.
And for more of these stories, visit our website www.newsfirst.lk. Good night and take care.